Last year I ranked every single level of the classic Tomb Raider Remastered Trilogy. Now that I've reviewed every single game in this series up until the Angel of Darkness, it feels appropriate to give the freshly remastered 4, 5 and 6 trilogy the same treatment. This time I took my sweet time over 31 hours of PS5 gameplay across 3 weeks, plus some re-recordings after the first patch. Oh, the things I do for my craft. Again, I tried a no medipack run and managed to beat every single level. It was way easier than I thought, but to be fair, I allowed myself to save and reload. If you're not familiar with my story, the original Tomb Raider was the first 3D game I ever played back in the 90s, and I've been a fan ever since. That said, my love for the original trilogy doesn't exactly carry over to these 3 games. 4 has always felt like work to me, 5 is deeply flawed but inoffensive, and 6 is just a broken mess of wasted potential. I went in skeptical because flashy visuals alone can't fix everything. That skepticism was valid, but my reactions were more interesting than I expected. I was surprised to enjoy The Last Revelation more than ever. Chronicles was pretty much the same, and I ended up disappointed by AOD all over again. So yeah, expect a few contradictions with my original reviews. Opinions evolve, right? Ranking the levels was a mountainous task because first of all, what even is a level? AOD has some side areas that are optional. Do they count? I set a rule for myself. If the game forces you to enter an area with its own name, it's a level. Therefore, Café Métro doesn't count, thank God. That means I have 80 levels to tackle, even more than in the last ranking video. Of course, rankings will keep changing over time, but this is where I stand for now. My ranking will most certainly be different from yours. I won't hold it against you if you dislike a level that I enjoy, so I hope you can do the same with my picks. I want to say this gently but very clearly. Don't take this too seriously. A majority of this list is unfortunately on the negative side, so if you'd rather avoid that, then maybe it's better to skip this one. Let's keep it civil and please tell me your ranking in the comments below. Ranking 80 levels is hard, isn't it? I'm giving each level roughly the same amount of time. Fellow Tomb Raider fans, join me on another epic journey as I rank every single level from the Tomb Raider 4, 5 and 6 Remastered collection from worst to best, according to this guy. GFrom. Longtime viewers won't be shocked to find Anchor dead last, almost as dead as crunk music. This loathsome level has been renting space in my personal hell since the day I laid eyes on it. It's a tutorial that somehow manages to teach nothing. Werner von Croy talks so much you'd think he was paid by the word. He won't shut up for more than 12 seconds at a time.
Now it becomes interesting, yeah?
Want to learn how to shimmy around a corner? Too bad. Hope you like guessing. Rope swinging? Allegedly explained, but it's the kind of explanation that makes you question if you speak the same language. No fair. Next time tell me how to swing, yeah? The remaster adds subtitles, so now I can finally understand what Werner's muttering about. Still useless. The only faint praise I can offer is that collecting all 8 golden skulls stretches out the next level a bit, so there's technically an objective. The Angel of Darkness has no shortage of levels that make you question your life choices, but Wrath of the Beast earns the dubious crown. Easily the worst of the 4 Hall of Seasons trials, and that's saying something. The floor crumbles beneath you as you go, which in a better game would be an exciting platforming challenge. Here, it's mostly Lara refusing to cooperate with the laws of gravity and ledge detection. Yes, ledge detection is a law in game physics, you know what I mean. Modern controls do soften the blow a little, but not enough to save it. And the grand finale? A couple of skeletons in an overzealous sprinkler system. Stand in the water, wait, run to a switch, thrilling stuff. I wish the Hall of Seasons took a page from St. Francis Folly so I could rank it as a single miserable unit. But no, we're doing all 4, individually. Lucky me. Ah yes, one of the most agonizing parts of my entire playthrough. Pick up the Jackal walking stick, and then nothing. Silence. Normally the cleaner shows up here, but apparently he was on a coffee break. Turns out you have to use the walking stick in the menu, whatever that's supposed to mean, before the game remembers it has a plot. When the cleaner finally does show up late to work, things somehow deteriorate. He's buggy, he gets stuck on walls, and his health bar acts like it's having a panic attack. I'll admit, it's probably the toughest level to do without medipacks, so there's that. And yes, the modern controls made the laser hallway far less of a PS2 era nightmare. But overall, the whole encounter just feels broken and exhausting. I never want to step foot in Von Croy's apartment again. He can keep it. Just to be clear, I'm not talking about the 4 trial rooms, just the main cores. The giant furnace puzzle feels like it takes forever and still manages to be insultingly simple. I'd call the basement passable, with a decent variety of traps. But the central chamber? Bland as dry toast. Climbing that giant wall on PS2 was a nightmare thanks to Lara's early retirement strength stat. This time, knowing where to go helped. I made it in one go. Small wins. Then there's the quote-unquote boss fight with the ghost. And I use quotes because calling it a boss is generous. It screeches endlessly like a haunted blender and can't hurt you if you're crouching, which feels less like a mechanic and more like a bug that made it to launch day. At least the new life bar tells you when the spectral asshole's stunned. It's too long, not fun, and somehow manages to feel both over-designed and underwhelming. First off, this remaster is just too damn dark, and Cairo takes the worst of it. Thank you. Citadel Gate lands at the bottom of the Cairo pile, mostly because of the locusts. I can usually tolerate them, but here they just won't cut it out with their nonsense. Try doing a medipack-less run while a cloud of angry insects circles you like a biblical punishment. Sure, you can leave and recharge health, but where's the fun in that? There's a puzzle with numbered switches that hides its solution behind a crate you need to shoot way above you. Because of course it does. The rooftop awning section is actually fun, until the beetles show up to ruin it, like they always do. The invincible dragon thing is a novelty, I'll give it that, but otherwise, not much to write home about, assuming you could even see what you're writing. On PS2, the relict apartment block was a mild diversion. On the remaster, it's a total glitch buffet, rank with the taste of unfinished code. Exhibit A. The opening. First attempt, the police crash in like laws are for mere mortals. Then Lara gets stuck on a wall. Like, really? On try number 2, this happened. Look at the wardrobe. Not only does it teleport, but you can just walk right through it. And then the door's closed. What? After that, it's just climbing a handful of stairs, sidestepping cops with 0 AI smarts, and ticking off minor chores. It's so painfully forgettable, your brain will just cringe and make up a happier memory in its place. Yet, those opening bugs and the awful AI manage to leave such a bad impression that the pain lingers. There's no tension, no urgency. What could have been a tense escape scene ends up feeling like a tech demo gone rogue. Syntikart's church is one of those levels I almost didn't count because I initially thought it was just a side area. But since you get here after finishing Bouchard's hideout, it's technically part of the main story. That said, it's essentially meaningless because you can just leave at any time. The church is now a gym, and for some reason Lara places a bet on a boxer to win a gold watch. You pick your fighter and let pure randomness decide the outcome. That's already a bad start, but what makes this worse is that this is the most tedious, painfully long fight in the history of combat sports. Bet on the wrong guy? Reload and try again. Ah, Sunday well spent. Beyond this soul-crushing experience, questioning whether this even qualifies as an interactive level at this point, you can climb around for a handful of minor trinkets, none of which actually matter. Pro tip, step inside, then exit. You won't miss a thing. Except maybe the new combat tutorial. Chambers of Tulun demands a 2-part visit, but it's that opening act that drags it through the mud. The goal is to trap an angry, indestructible minotaur. Otherwise, it's impossible to get up this ladder because the mighty smash of its hammer makes you lose your grip. On PS1, you could dangle on the side and climb up without issue, but that trick's been patched out. Maybe for the best, given that it felt like an oversight before. However, trapping the beast and getting out in time can be infuriating since you're wrestling with rope swings. Timing is tight and any mistake feels catastrophic, turning what should have been tense platforming into a comedy of errors. The second part is much more bearable though. The torch and sprinkler bit is a little weird, but at least it doesn't feel like it's actively trying to break you. Here we stand in the second Hall of Seasons trial, the Breath of Hades, where Lara channels her inner bodybuilder by shoving a fortress-grade wall like she's prepping for a CrossFit demo. You know, the same Lara who can't push crates a few levels later. Push a lever, watch columns sprout from the floor and cue the apocalyptic wind machine. Basically a medieval hairdryer set to torture. On PS2, this was a precision platforming horror show. Every leap felt like defusing a bomb blindfolded. But with modern controls, I only face planted 4 times. The evil winds gust about and whine and moan and don't do much else. Just wait until their tantrum subsides. Nab the air crystal and haul it back. It's over so quickly you'll wonder why it got its own billing, but here we are, legitimizing its existence. When I wander into the Sanctuary of Flame, it feels like someone took the Breath of Hades challenge room, set it on fire and called it new content. Behold the fires of rebirth, forging old crap anew. Visually, it's a knockout, but looks can only carry you so far. During my PS2 playthrough, I learned to pause before the blaze at the start, yet still managed to belly flop into lava like a molten pancake. The entire affair is copy-paste platforming. Hop onto amber sprouting ledges, snatch the crystal, then do it all again in reverse. This time the gimmick is platforms that appear out of thin air. Groundbreaking stuff. Never seen that before. It's definitely prettier and a tad more forgiving than the air-themed Hall of Seasons trial, but make no mistake, it's filler wrapped in flame. The worst of the worst is behind us now. The following levels aren't any good, but at least they're not atrocious. You'd think the intro of Angel of Darkness would come out swinging, set the tone, make a statement. Instead we get a softly mumbled, They restored a previously unfinished area, which is exciting in theory. In practice, it's like discovering a secret room in your house and realizing it only contains a mop and 2 moldy socks. It's optional, which is code for you can ignore this and miss absolutely nothing. Also, I didn't even get voiceovers, just plain text, not a peep from her. My PS2 disc had more guidance than this.
To move the barrel, stand next to it.
Did my game bug out, or is Lara just giving me the silent treatment? At least some of it.
To move the barrel, stand next to it.
And where are the police? I thought I was on the run for murder. Did they take a lunch break in the optional path too? Thank you. Parisian Backstreet does a better job of explaining mechanics than The Last Revelation, but compared to other iconic openers in the series, this one barely clears the bar. Margot Carvier's apartment is technically a level in the same way that reading a post-it note counts as reading a book. Unless your idea of a gripping challenge is politely questioning an old academic and then looting her house, there's not a whole lot going on. The big twist? You get dialogue choices. Lara often says both options anyway, as if she's just workshopping her script in real time. If you pick the right responses, Carvier hands over Werner's notebook. If you don't, Lara goes full kleptomanic and searches the apartment for it. Either way, you get a decent chunk of time to rob the place before the police arrive. I've never failed this, so apparently they're stuck in Paris traffic. It's not bad, it's not good, it's just kind of there. But hey, respect to Margot for getting a full level named after her. That's more than Pierre ever got. Welcome to Trenches, aka Cairo's most forgettable back alley tour. You'll muck through this level a few times and I guarantee you won't remember a single visit. It's the Tomb Raider equivalent of grey toast. Sure, you've got turrets and flamethrowers trying to blow you apart, but let's be real, that's hardly groundbreaking. At one point I even got stuck because I thought I had to shoot the concrete bracket up top, but nothing happened. Turns out that was exactly what I was supposed to do, it just didn't work at first for reasons beyond sense. On the plus side, I'll admit the moody atmosphere is kinda nice, but the puzzles? Forgettable. The pacing? Off. And the crowbar moment with the Jeep? Saved only by the trusty hand symbol. MVP of this entire trilogy. The motorcycle stunt on the way out is fun for the 3 seconds it lasts, but let's not pretend it redeems the rest of the sleepy trench of toast. The good news? The Ireland levels in Chronicles got the biggest facelift in the remaster. Now that doesn't mean it captures the charm of that country by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a nice attempt. The bad news? There's still the weird kid at school eating glue and talking to ghosts. Gallows Tree in particular is like watching a gothic fever dream through a dirty sock. While some parts still look rough, they've done a fair job improving these visual atrocities. That said, it remains one of the weakest entries in the Tomb Raider saga, and definitely my my pick for the worst level in Chronicles. Playing as a young, unarmed Lara has never exactly been a highlight. The changelings are peak. What even is this energy? Seriously, go away. It's similar to Chambers of Tulun and the Sprinkler where you set roots on fire with a torch. At least it's more obvious here. And then there's the pitchfork and rubber tube MacGyver moment that only works in this one spot? Come on. A graveyard level in Tomb Raider? Sounds like a slam dunk. Gothy vibes, ancient secrets, maybe a crypt full of undead monks? Sign me up. But no, Suntikart's graveyard hears all that potential and politely declines. What we get instead is Lara shooting dogs in the face and jumping on graves like it's a completely reasonable way to spend your afternoon. That's about it. On PS2 there was a wall I couldn't scale no matter what I tried. I accepted my fate like a true gamer, by walking away. Now with modern controls I finally made the jump, and was rewarded with some ammo and a trophy that might as well read Participation Award for mild tomb raiding. At least Lara gets to show off her incredible strength by pushing a statue to open the way to Bouchard's hideout, proving she lives religiously between her globetrotting adventures. On PS2, I actually kinda liked the Strahov fortress. It flirted with being atmospheric and sneaky, but in the remaster, glitches kicked down the door and made themselves at home. I mean, I admire Lara's general skill set, but falling through platforms? That's a feature I could definitely do without. It wipes away my smile if I ever had one to begin with. Then there's the weird situation where something's firing at me, but isn't at the same time. What's up with that? Add to that the world's longest ladder, which seems designed to test your sanity itself. The level focuses heavily on stealth, but the mechanics are half-baked at best. Don't even get me started on the AI. Utterly brain dead. Under better conditions, this could have been a secret agent vibe. As it stands though, it's slow-paced wannabe stealth with clunky combat. The glitches just get in the way of what could have been a passable level. When I think of Old Mill, the first thing that comes to mind is that demon horseman who just won't leave me alone. The cutscenes drag on like a nightmare you can't wake up from. I'm not even gonna pretend the first part with the rope didn't annoy the hell out of me. It's clunky, it's awkward, and the changelings tossing rocks? That's just childish. Then Lara's gotta pry a metal bar out of a fence and boom, it's her new crowbar. The hand symbol saves the day here, or I'd be still wandering around like an idiot. The mill itself is slightly better in terms of atmosphere, but it's not enough to redeem the level. And when you get to the marrow, let's just say the whole coin in cage routine to trap it feels about as logical as using a banana to stop a tank. This level does nothing to excite or keep your attention, and it only cements Ireland as the weakest chapter of Chronicles. At first, Rennes pawnshop seems like little more than a souped up side quest in the Parisian ghetto. You get a bit of dialogue, and back on PS2 you could sell your loot for cold hard cash. Now the game's throwing in the option to buy ammo, silencers and laser sights. Okay, I'm listening. The final stretch of the ghetto chapter has Lara stumbling upon Rennes' lifeless body. There's no time for sentimental moments because, of course, she immediately snatches his wallet. I guess that's just Lara's brand of respect. Then comes the best part. A door, a bomb and a ticking clock. That's a recipe for fun. Lara barely escapes in time, looking far too casual for someone escaping from an explosion. I get it, she's a badass, but a brisk jog away from imminent death? Really? When it's all said and done, it's still just another level that's more meh than wow. The second Curtis stage starts with an optional shimmy section that just plain sucks. Why is bro so weak? And he can't even swim? Or is there something wrong with the water? Your guess is as good as mine. Seriously, write it below if you know what's going on here. Once you escape that headache, Maximum Containment Area plunges you into a claustrophobic lab overrun with clawed mutants. This could have been the Tomb Raider meets Raccoon City crossover we didn't know we needed. Instead, it plays like a sweaty tedium simulator. Same corridors, zero scares. Then comes the Proto-Nephilim boss fight, which has all the thrills of watching paint dry. Now with a health bar slapped on for remaster value. Like a discount sticker. You circle dance, mash shoot, then wait. Wait for the monster to grow a spine and actually attack? I'm still holding my breath. This should have been a showstopper, but ends up as a clumsy sideshow. Welcome to Cairo. Hey! Bro, I got shot at in the very first second. How's that fair? Never happened on PlayStation. City of the Dead marks the debut of the motorcycle, which surprisingly handles well. Getting stuck in corners kinda sucks though. Thank you. This stage doubles down on frustration with relentless machine gun nests. You won't find a harder stage if you're running it without using any medipacks. The level design descends into head-scratching puzzles. Most famously, you need to pull a corpse off a hatch so that you can get into a crawl space, because it would have been impossible to get in there otherwise. Thanks, moveset. Another part I don't particularly care for is where you need to lure an ice wraith into the water so that it freezes. Yawn. Ice fishing sucks. I feel the lack of direction hinders the stage from being enjoyable. We're still in below average territory, but it's starting to get slightly better. When you spend half the game tracing through cramped alleys and echoed galleries, a proper tomb feels like a welcome change. Until you realize it's the world's dustiest obstacle course. Tomb of Ancients is 90% hop-on hop-off platforming with bonus surprise bats that swoop in like budget horror props. There's also your first skeleton night. It starts well enough, but soon has you climb down ledges only to later climb up to a switch and make your way down yet again. Yep, that's all you do. The modern controls at least turn it from a murder trial into a mild inconvenience. This also counts for the final gauntlet with the spike traps and the timed door. On PS2, this was an awful challenge. Here I breezed past them on my first try, which felt almost like cheating. Charming as it looks, this tomb is ultimately as memorable as an empty urn. You may now take off your seatbelts, everybody. We're approaching our descent into the manholes of Parisian Ghetto and landing in the metro tunnels. Yet the loading screen insists we're at Bouchard's hideout, even though there isn't a single path here to his secret lair. Please brace for even more general confusion upon arrival. There are only some pickups here. The main part of the level comes after Saint-Icard's graveyard. Until then, you're just scavenging random pickups in dank sewer water while rats nip at your ankles. In the grimy bunker, there's some poor soggy guy who looks half dead and you immediately swipe his medicine. Every raider for herself, right? Lara has a chat with Bouchard and you better watch what you say.
I'll watch nothing. I'm sick of your Parisian lowlife ways.
My man doesn't like being insulted by brats. This could have been a gritty underground adventure, but with almost no real gameplay, it feels just like wasted space. The loading screen felt more meaningful than this. At least it gets the ambience right. Red Alert! Was a broken, buggy circus on the PlayStation, so I approached the remaster bracing for digital landmines. On that front, my worries were unfounded because I didn't find any serious coding errors. Then reality hit. This level is still a marathon of misery. The optional shooting range that once felt impossible now bends to Lara's steadier aim. First try win thanks to smoother controls. But don't pop the champagne yet. I believe you can still softlock yourself if you forget to pick up grappling gun ammo. At least it's not as easy to miss anymore. The androids are annoying fellas, especially the one you need to electrocute. Getting up to that switch multiple times is just tedious. Oh, and let's not forget the helicopter. It just won't quit. By the time you stagger out of this marathon, there's no glory at the finish line. Parisian Ghetto is built as your sprawling hub that gives you access to several different areas. Much to my fury, I realized that they kept the loading screens that pop up every 3 seconds. They couldn't fix that? It breaks up the pace and doesn't feel worthy of a remaster at all. Plus the music restarts every single time. You can almost imagine a record scratch. The courtyard itself is a bizarrely empty stage. Sure, there are very few people to talk to, some of which have the exact same face as before. Is this a joke? Thank you. Your lone redeeming feature is the Willow Tree Herbalist finally stocking poison antidotes. It gave us the busiest NPC in the world, so at least a meme was born from the ruins.
Leave me alone, I'm busy.
Having to choose a mission between Bernard and Pierre was nice too. Everything else is a masterclass in why empty space doesn't equal open world. With all due respect to the 3-part Karnak saga, the middle chapter serves up the bland sandwich in an otherwise gourmet trilogy. The first pass is harmless platforming, but the return trip unleashes a swarm of red-robed assassins, my personal arch-nemesis. Navigating the 3 connected rooms with columns feels like a chore you've been putting off for weeks. Oh god! Why does this keep happening? And who could forget the puzzle where you blast a boulder off its perch with nothing but your pistols, because apparently gravity only listens to bullets. The finale's rotating needles and glowing pyramids is worth a look if you have the patience of an archaeologist. But compared to the other 2 levels it's connected with, the Great Hypostyle Hall falls short in terms of setting and gameplay. Industrial rooftop straight up feels like Parisian backstreets. Only this time a helicopter politely reminds you that it exists by occasionally tickling Lara with bullets. Okay, that sounds creepy, but you know what I mean. It's also the famous moment when Lara pulls a crate to increase her leg strength, an absolutely groundbreaking mechanic that I will never stop finding hilarious. Sorry, I can't make that jump until I move this box and unlock my true power. Genius. Pure genius. This is also where you can punch dogs in the face. I couldn't land a single hit and just made a fool of myself, dancing around. Lara should have transferred some of that crate pulling strength into her fists. Aside from that, there's nothing going on here, but don't tell the soundtrack that. It blasts like you're on a Mission Impossible set piece while you're awkwardly hopping around empty rooftops and abandoned warehouses. Tone it down, game. The penultimate level of The Last Revelation goes down as one of those stages that didn't really need to be its own thing. It's short, mostly forgettable, and just throws a few final assassins at you before the end. You finally get to use the shafts to open the Temple of Horus. But please tell me, how does this work? It's anyone's guess. Ancient Egyptian sliding technology, I suppose. Ooh, sorry Lara, I didn't mean to test them. The final secret is found here too, but finding all 70 of them rewards you with nothing. Except a trophy, which feels a little insulting after all that effort. Honestly, the entire Giza chapter overstays its welcome, and by the time you get here, the burnout is real. I'm tired, Dad, take me home. Give me some ice cream while you're at it. Inside, the Great Pyramid doesn't bring back the excitement, it just stretches things out when the game should be ramping up. By the time you reach Giza, it really feels like the end of the world is nigh, complete with dramatic red skies, constant lightning strikes, and the Sphinx looming above like it's about to judge your save file. It's easily one of the most striking visuals in the game. Impressive, if not to say, majestic. Unfortunately, as a level, the Sphinx complex doesn't live up to the set dressing. It's too dark as usual, kind of empty, and filled with the same assassins you've already outgunned by the dozens. The moment that gets me every time is Lara digging this enormous hole with her tiny shovel like she's just gardening after lunch. Look at her go. She's determined, I'll give her that. I actually got stuck here because shooting the grate didn't work at first, so I did laps like a confused NPC until eventually it just decided to cooperate. I guess even the game was tired at this point. Hall of Demetrius isn't just short, it's blink and you'll miss it short. I'm not even sure it deserves to be called a level. Does it even exist? Do I exist? 3 minutes, tops, and that's counting a cutscene that eats up half of it. Honestly, why wasn't this just tacked onto the end of the Lost Library? That level was massive already, nobody would have complained. So why is it ranked this high? Well, I had to put it somewhere, and to be fair, it doesn't actually do anything wrong. No rage moments, no getting hopelessly lost, no hair-pulling puzzles. You pick up the Pharaoh's knot, shoot 3 dudes who really had no idea what hit them, and solve a teeny tiny puzzle involving a couple suspicious scrape marks. Push the lantern, door opens, done. It's harmless and doesn't feel like filler at all. Oh wait, yeah, it does. At this point in The Last Revelation, the whole apocalyptic desert vibe has really run dry. Yeah, cringe at that pun, but you'll live. Khufu's Queen's Pyramids gives you one last stroll outside before the finale, but let's be honest, climbing up yet another pyramid feels more like clocking into work than embarking on a daring adventure. 9 to 5 at the temple. The stone block puzzle is at least clearer this time around. It practically has a glowing sign that says push me. Good job expressing your needs, puzzle. We're proud of you. Inside the pyramid, things spiral into a drab maze of shifting blocks and scarab ambushes. The Guardian boss fight is completely forgettable. At least I think it is, but the memory's fuzzy. The only highlight is a hidden secret that requires a key from a previous level, which is kinda cool, except it's not the final secret, so it feels like a setup for a payoff that never comes. It's just one last tease before Giza drags on a little more. The grand finale of the Karnak chapter has a great setup. You've got blades on walls, blades on the floor, blades in unexpected places. The whole place feels like it was built to say, you probably shouldn't be here. And then there's the laser. What does it do? Something. But the star of the show is, of course, the Guardian of Semerkhet itself. Big, unkillable, and seemingly obsessed with your scent, this guy chases you around like you've got bacon hanging from your back pocket. The gimmick is that you're supposed to get him to smash into blocks, which sounds cool until you actually try it. Half the time he just stumbles around like he forgot what day it is. The rest of the time he stops right before impact. It's a clunky mechanic that turns what could have been a thrilling chase into a frustrating herding session. Shame really, because the atmosphere is otherwise pretty solid. On my latest PS2 run, the Lost Domain felt like a slow descent into madness. I died so often I started to wonder if the game had it out for me personally, but in the remaster, I only died once. The modern controls really smooth things out and suddenly the level feels incredibly short, hardly 3 minutes and you're done. This is the stage where Lara finally remembers she can sprint jump, a mechanic introduced so late it may as well come with a use only once label. It's a cameo move. Still, pulling it off is satisfying. There's still one slide jump that I find highly questionable due to the awful fixed camera angle. Thank you. But overall, this time around I actually enjoyed myself with minimal torture. It's a decent, if unremarkable level that probably would have worked better as part of the final stage rather than its own standalone blip. The final stretch of The Last Revelation begins with something every Tomb Raider dreams of: math puzzles. I don't want to solve math problems, I want to skip school and play video games. And yes, eat some ice cream, I'm still waiting on that request. Thankfully, the scale puzzles are easy enough that even I didn't feel the urge to Google how to cheat at tomb math. Still, 3 in a row? Bit much. If you mess up, you get to fight a creature that looks like it was summoned from a bad calculator. As for set, well, calling it a boss fight is generous, and we've seen this concept before. You don't fight him so much as dodge his glowing projectiles while trying not to stub your toe on your way out. I know on New Game Plus you can actually fight him, but I haven't tried that yet. The smashing blocks at the end are a decent send-off, but overall, the final level just doesn't hit the way it should. It's fine, just not finale material. And here we have it, the highest ranked final level on this list. Don't let that fool you into thinking Eckhart's lab is any good. Your main objective is to collect 3 alchemic phials. And to do so, Lara bravely hops into a cage that lowers into boiling water, lobster style. I had issues escaping this death trap back on PS2, and guess what? Still struggled here too. Modern controls are better, but they're not miracle workers. Then there's the Eckhart boss fight, which has been slightly tweaked. You can't just crouch anymore. Now you have to actually move a little. Not that it makes the fight good, it's still a glorified waiting game with the occasional dodged falling stuff moments. And then there's poor Corel with a health bar just begging for an epic showdown. Instead you hop towards the sleeper and end it like you're flipping a light switch. An underwhelming finale for an underwhelming villain. Now we've reached the stages that I'd call average. There's more enjoyment to be found here, but I wouldn't exactly call them good. The Sanitarium marks Curtis' debut as a playable character, and we get some previously cut content like its Shirogai blade, which can now be used as a weapon. Awesome! Is what I hoped I would say. Instead it's more like... what? With it drawn, he hops around like a circus performer. It's completely ridiculous and honestly looks like a joke from a low-budget martial arts film. Even the latest patch didn't fix it. The blade's slow, but it does the job. At least Curtis can finally run. I'll take the little wins. The setting itself dives into horror territory with mutants lurking in an unsettling environment. Which I'll admit, I kinda dig. But of course, there's the obligatory what's going on moment where Curtis can't climb until he shoots at yellow tanks. Why? Just because. Curtis being a little less clunky sure helps me enjoy this level a little more, unless he tries moving with a blade in his hand. After surviving perhaps the most baffling sequence of stages in Tomb Raider history, the Cairo chapter finally hurls you into the Citadel, only to leave you even more bewildered. This sprawling fortress gives you no clear clue what you're actually here to do, and the push to solve puzzle feels like a lullaby. The compass room promises direction, but delivers... well, nothing. On the bright side, I didn't fall through the floor this time around, no game-breaking glitches. Then comes the Cistern Encore, flooded corridors where you shift water levels up and down. At least, the game lets us breathe here for a moment. Just a little moment. Near the end, you sit around waiting for 2 undead knights to smash a barrier, and it makes you wonder if they've never heard of urgency. Great atmosphere while you're playing it, zero memorability. Underneath the Sphinx is basically 4 doors of doom. No, that's not an obscure death metal band reference or anything, it's an accurate summary of the mission. Think St. Francis Folly meets a medieval spelling test. Here you're asked to push 3 hieroglyph tiles alphabetically, because ancient Egyptians definitely kept their writing system in ABC order. Get it wrong and you're treated to a spike-filled gauntlet that offers precisely 1 switch. The 4 chambers do little to redeem it. In one you've got to reach into 2 random wall niches with a 0 context. The underwater maze is a claustrophobic thalassophobia fest, where a wrong turn feels like signing up for a one-way submarine tour. Credit where it's due, the drill traps near the end look badass, spinning like giant tomb-sized mixers. But they're not enough to mask the fact that this level's puzzle design is underwhelming. Its mystery feels more like a shrug. After surviving Cairo's sprawling maze-interconnected levels, Street Bazaar at least feels like a self-contained experience, albeit one littered with sand in your boots. In this final stretch, the unkillable Guardian makes its inevitable return, and you get the joy of coaxing that overconfident bull into walls like you're babysitting a hairy toddler. The arena's so tight, every miss-shove is a mini facepalm moment, and to top it off, you're forced to backtrack through trenches just to get back to square one, because who doesn't love a mandatory scenic detour? The lightning puzzle with metal crates is one of the few push fests that I don't mind because it doesn't take half a century. Other than that, there isn't really anything that stands out. It may not dazzle, but its relative simplicity comes as a relief after the earlier chaos. As a kid, Labyrinth had me surrender faster than you can say Leprechaun, but today it's hardly a mythical quest, more like an overly ambitious corn maze. The 3 vertical chambers all look identical, so you'll wander in circles unless you actually glance at the symbols near the doors, at which point the layout makes marginally more sense. The real head scratcher is the opening puzzle with 3 square tiles that need pushing in the correct order. Big quotation marks over correct. No hints, just pure trial and error, because ancient puzzle masters apparently hated user manuals. They were chuckling gleefully over their torches with this one. On the bright side, the remaster sprinkles in some neat visual flourishes. The flickering torchlight and dripping shadows give the place actual character. The final maze is trivially easy if you just follow the friendly glow. What once broke my spirit as a kid is now the one Ireland stop I don't dread. Alexandria opens a fresh chapter, but instead of throwing you into chaos, it lets you settle in with some relaxing murder before heading to coastal ruins. Jean-Yves' cozy little home is under siege by assassins and the occasional scorpion. But once you've vacuumed them up, the place becomes your unofficial base of operations. Feels good to be home. You even get to pop back in for bonus cutscenes where Jean-Yves drops hints and generally acts like the only competent adult Lara's ever met. Naturally, you defend this place with your life. I mean, you're the head of the household. And look at that shiny floor. The cleaning crew did a great job. There's also a fountain. It's nice. Honestly, this is one of the most vanilla stages in the entire game. But you know what? Sometimes it's okay to get lost in domestic bliss. Lara shows up in snowy Prague without a jacket because apparently hypothermia is for the weak. No sleeves, no mercy. Here we meet journalist Ludwig, who, depending on how nicely you talk to him, hands over a Strahov security pass and a weapon for the low price of 800 euros. A true philanthropist. Lara meanwhile takes a quick break from raiding tombs to wipe out some policemen and their dogs. Role model behavior. The falling snow looks pretty rough, thankfully not GTA San Andreas Remastered level of rough, but janky enough to be distracting. Down in the sewers, a truly cursed PS2 glitch is thankfully MIA in this version. The apartment segment is your basic turn the clock to 3 o'clock because the camera said so stuff. The monstrum crime scene is run of the mill, but the mysterious music does a lot of heavy lifting, just barely nudging this stage into the upper half of the list. This might be a shocker, even for me. As a kid, Valley of the Kings was one of the few levels I adored. I mean, driving a Jeep equals fun, right? Well, yes and no. You don't actually spend that much time behind the wheel, and while the driving controls are fine, I was left sorta underwhelmed this time around. I feel like the sluggish controls could have been tightened up. Thank you. The level throws a whole welcome party of assassins at you right at the start, and if you know me, you know I prefer my Tomb Raider with less bullet sponge festivities. The real star here is the car chase music. Way more upbeat than the usual ancient Doom soundtrack fare. Don't get me wrong, it's still a decent stage. It's just not the childhood masterpiece I had enshrined in my nostalgia museum. Welcome to the Tomb of Semerchet, where Lara trades raiding tombs for playing ancient board games against immortal beings. Sure, why not? I did ask for a break from all the bullet spongy crap. The atmosphere is top tier, but actually playing it? That's where it gets messy. The Senate match is a neat gimmick until you realize you have to lose on purpose to unlock 5 secrets. 5. Imagine training your whole life to beat gods only to be told, actually throw the match or else. To make things worse, the loser's path drags on like ancient bureaucracy. At least they fixed the fire and ice wraiths from the PS1 days. Scarabs also make their debut here, running over your feet like nature's tiny middle fingers. That first part with the niches is painful. Visually stunning, mechanically confusing. Basically Tomb Raider 4 in a nutshell. On PS1, Cleopatra's palaces looked absolutely stunning. In the remaster, it's so dark I half expected Lara to pull out a glow stick and start a rave. Thank you. Some of the atmosphere got lost in the launch version, and apparently so did I, because I missed the switch and spent half the level running around like a headless chicken. This is also where the mechanical scarab makes its grand entrance. Who can resist robo-bugs? A cool gadget until you realize it's a one-trick pony, or I guess 3-trick beetle, because that's how many times you can use it before it goes away. Use it wrong and congrats, you have locked yourself out of a secret. Fun! Then there's the golden Lara statue you have to babysit like your drunk friend at a club. If she takes damage, so do you. It's a neat idea and shouldn't be a hassle if you shoot at anything with wings quickly enough. The final fight against 2 guardians is basically side-flipping the musical. Graceful, repetitive, and a little bit sad. I used to love this level more, but now the cracks are harder to ignore. The third and final time you get to play as Curtis, you're thrown straight into a boss fight. Because that's exactly what he needed, more responsibility. Boaz Returns is just one big showdown. As a teen, I thought this fight was brutal, mostly because Curtis handled like a shopping cart with a broken wheel. On PS2, I fumbled my way through, and in the remaster, I actually beat the first phase on my first try. Thanks, Modern Controls. Feeling cocky, I decided to whip out the Shirogai blade for phase 2. Spoiler, terrible idea. It's not a great boss fight by any means, but when the competition is everything else in AOD, it suddenly doesn't look so bad. Plus, they included Dance of the Lux Vertatis, a previously unused song. It almost feels like a proper send-off for Curtis, aside from the fact that he still hops around with a blade like... let me think... how do I capture the awkwardness? Like his shopping cart derailed and the wheel spun off into oblivion, never to be seen again. Chronicles actually does the tutorial thing right by making it optional. Sort of. If you're hunting every secret, you still have to get through that dusty demo area. But at least Lara's not interrupting herself every 2 seconds like a certain mentor. I've always found Streets of Rome about as memorable as Day-Old Gelato, which is true for too many stages on this list. Let the pigeons have it. You get to spray bullets at our good friend Larson, who totally deserves it.
Pierre!
Even pops up in cutscenes to remind us he's still around, though I'd rather have his health bar for target practice. It's actually the first time I played this game in English, so it was fun to hear the English dub. It introduces tightrope walking, Lara's most gloriously useless stunt. The temple finale does nothing but reinforce the feeling of meh. Sometimes vanilla is better than a headache, but this is barely that. Coastal Ruins used to confuse the hell out of me. It's the first hub area of the series and I had no idea where to go. These days I'm much more at home here. It's eye candy, but I'd gladly trade a bit of that beauty for fewer loading screens between the levels. If you're into self-inflicted pain, Egyptian Adventure has a whole BDSM tour for you. From a shooting gallery that punishes you for not hitting every target to a room with invisible spikes you can only spot using a mirror. The hook in the wall is even harder to track down this time around. Thanks again, hand symbol. The hook and pole is used at this gate, and for whatever reason the game has you pick up the gate key afterwards. So easy to miss. The skeletons make their debut here, and blowing them up with explosive arrows never gets old. It's a nice mix of traps and pretty views if you're into that sort of thing. As a kid, Desert Railroad felt like I'd walk into a full-blown action flick. A moving train in the middle of nowhere. While it has lost a bit of that magic sparkle, it's definitely a nice change of pace in the last revelation. The revamped visuals give the sun-baked carriages a fresh coat of epicness, yet the gameplay leans too heavily on creepers in black robes who could outlast a pharaoh's curse. You can deflect my shots all you want, but in the end, you're just delaying the inevitable. Why not let me one-shot you and keep this train rolling? The platforming stumbles into decent territory with jumps between lurching cars. But let's be honest, once the nostalgia goggles come off, it's only the scenery that steals the show. Still, I'll always look back on this trip with nostalgia. Catacombs used to be my personal boogeyman as a kid. The washed out walls, the endless sea of skeletons, and a layout so labyrinthine, it made me wish for a map. Fast forward to today, and I'll admit it's grown on me. It can still be a struggle to navigate, but it's not as horrifying as I made it out to be all these years. One explosive arrow and the skeletons are dust. The air wraiths deserve their own special award for annoyance, because you have to wait near golden bird statues for them to vanish. Sometimes this takes a while. The worst part about this place is the swinging ropes at the start. I nailed them on the first try this time. Pro tip: aim a hair left of the target or you'll faceplant. It's moody and mechanically solid enough to feel like a refreshing change of pace rather than a childhood trauma redux. The bulk of the Vault of Trophies is dedicated to Lara's unexpected career as a scuba instructor. Good thing she remembered that wetsuit. Swimming through spiky corridors sounds like a one-way ticket to Davy Jones's locker, but thanks to a conveniently placed aqualung, you can focus on the statue puzzle without constantly gasping for air. The HD makeover finally makes those L and V glyphs readable. Goodbye, blurry, squinty PS2 version. The second half swaps water for wobbly platforms, only a handful of which won't send you plummeting to your doom. You slog through a library, nothing special, but I will say that shoving undead knights into pits never gets old. Bye bye! A final, even simpler underwater stretch reminds you this whole ride is oddly uneven. Intense immersion, mid-level flounder, and a gentle swim to the exit. Trajan's Markets has always been a meh entry in Chronicles, but surprise, I'm starting to fall for its charms. The early tightrope walking feels as graceful as a hippo on stilts, yet the distant church bells provide enough ambience to forgive Lara's shaky balance. The floating mechanical head seems menacing at first, but it's no match for your clumsy acrobatics and sheer determination. The underwater tunnels glow a pleasant shade of algae green, and fighting the giant statue is a cool moment. Then comes Larson's sequel duel, because of course he had to show up again, and a trio of gargoyle heads. Thanks to the life bars, I now know that they only take damage when they're charging up their fireballs. For all these years I had no clue. The second half really turns things around. Finally, we're at the point of the list where I genuinely enjoy the levels. To a certain extent anyway. We're far from top tier stuff, but hang along, we'll get there. Infiltrating the Louvre should have been peak Tomb Raider, and to be fair, the setup's fantastic. Breaking into one of the world's most famous museums? I'm on board. They were clearly aiming for a stealth mission, and while the modern controls almost make that happen, it still feels like Lara's idea of subtle is knocking out every guard in the building. I love using the Dart SS though. Puts them to sleep like overworked security guards at 3 AM. Non-lethal justice, baby. Sadly, the mandatory camera sequence still looks like it was filtered through a ketchup bottle, and the guard AI often has them goofing off like they're in the wrong kind of game. But the atmosphere is top notch. Dodging laser tripwires, sneaking past cameras, and vibing to that undercover espionage music scratches my secret agent itch. With a bit more polish, Louvre Galleries could have been an all-timer. The submarine marks the start of Lara's "guess I'm not allowed to have weapons" arc in Chronicles. It's giving Maria Doria vibes from Tomb Raider 2, but honestly, I think it's handled better here. It starts out at a snail's pace. Get ready for a thrilling crawl through endless vents. Things pick up once you clobber a chef with your crowbar. The ever-reliable hand symbol saves the day again, because otherwise PS1 Lara might have just stared at the poor guy for an eternity, waiting for him to make the first move. Soon enough you retrieve your pistols and spend the rest of the time zigzagging through tight metal corridors, scavenging items like you're assembling IKEA furniture on the water. It's not the most riveting gameplay, but the mood actually sells it. It drips with the Spy Who Loved Me energy. Would have landed higher if not for the drag event sections, but it's a solid mission nonetheless. Inside Menkore's pyramid takes the Giza chapter into the epic tier, at least when it comes to traps. Like temple blocks, it stacks up hazards on hazards. Rotary blades that spin like rogue windmills, deadly spike pits, and later those same blades dangling above the pits. Because why not double your agony? Early on, you need to shoot a star emblazoned on the ceiling. Thank the ancient gods Lara looks up first, or I'd still be punching walls in frustration. Then you get to Addition for Cirque du Soleil, with rope swings that turn you into a caffeinated spider, again and again. There's an underwhelming guardian fight, and stepping outside greets you with giant red scorpions charging like tanks. Being inside a pyramid is pretty dope, and this one actually feels right. You need to be aware of your surroundings constantly, and even though outside it feels like doomsday, it's liberating to have made it out alive. At long last, the Angel of Darkness gives us a colorful set piece, and by that I mean it's not solely brown or gray. Welcome to the bio-research facility where vivid greenhouses clash spectacularly with the usual gloom. Some of these carnivorous plants have seriously questionable taste. Sorry Mr. Plant, I'm not on the menu. This sprawling level clocks in as one of the game's longest, but it's never unbearable. You'll tangle with bugs and weird mutants, avoid a mutant fish that won't die yet loves to snack on you, and leap your way through a glass greenhouse like a hamster in a ball. This is such a nice contrast to the dimly lit scenery we've seen so far. It breathes life into the experience. And who could forget the despicable Dr. Müller making a terrible Darkwing Duck impression?
Suck gas, evildoer!
Muskat muss, Herr Müller!
Lara's back in the Louvre, but now it's less art heist and more don't end up as the Louvre's permanent gas attack exhibit. Gunderson and his goons have flooded the halls with poison gas, so you've got one shot at grabbing a respirator before you're breathing your last. Forget stealth, this is full-on shoot 'em in the face territory. So put away the Dart SS and grab something with real firepower. Can someone explain why Gunderson's face, of all people, still looks like a prototype NPC from 2003? Thank you. And what's with Lara suddenly discovering sprinting the moment she inhales filtered air, as if she's in the Olympics now? I'm speechless. Galleries Under Siege is basically a quick sprint through corridors you just explored, but the ticking clock adds a rare sense of urgency, even if you could technically stroll and survive. On my PS2 run, Louvre Storm Drains was my favorite level. This time around, I can't say the same. After the never-ending ghetto, slipping into the fetid gutters should have felt like finding an oasis. I still love the idea of hunting down valves to progress, but the way it plays out just doesn't live up to expectations. Rats have been upgraded to venomous ninjas. At one point I kept running around like a deranged sewer gerbil, completely lost. Modern controls help, but the platforming still isn't all that fun. It doesn't commit any cardinal sins. It's just a treadmill of slippery pipes and occasional rat attacks. But why is it that in AOD the background noise gets extremely loud when I quick load? It's the worst. Thank you. For an Angel of Darkness stage, it's decent enough, but that bar hangs low. I'll give it props for mood. Nothing says welcome to the Louvre like drenched stone and dripping ceilings. The Colosseum, not to be confused with Colosseum, is a step up from the first two entries in the Rome chapter. Somehow the lions are still chilling down here. Maybe the undead gladiators are letting them dine on each other, who knows. The centerpiece is a timed running puzzle that doesn't do much for me. Then you get treated to what I genuinely consider Lara's cringiest moment ever.
Boo!
Yeah, boo. You made it, Lara. I'm actually feeling sorry for Pierre. There's a fine line between badassery and meanness, and she crossed it. It's a bummer that the level is so short, because just when you're vibing, it's over. The statue battle makes for an okay finale, although it's basically a rerun of Trajan's Markets. Would it have killed them to let us leap into the arena pit? That would have been worth the ticket. Escape with the Iris has you ditching your weapons out of the gate. It's one of the better stealth missions. Lara then channels her inner office supply thief, swiping vials of chloroform, apparently a staple in every office, and sending guards into Slumberland. The elevator shaft makes for a creative setting. After climbing up, she crashes down with an elevator and has to make her way up yet again. Bummer. My PTSD moment? Sprinting past pulse weapon wielding goons without taking any meds. Spoiler, I failed gloriously. You flood a lobby by convincing a guard to break open an aquarium. Because who hasn't dreamed of turning their workplace into a water park? Another awkward situation has you limboing under sniper fire, all from the shooter's POV. Ambitious stage? Absolutely. Polished? Let's just say ambition and smooth gameplay don't always share a cubicle. The archaeological dig is a whimsical little sandbox. First you hunt for 2 ancient symbols, one thanks to Lara's shiny new radar machine. Venture into the pit and it turns into a low-risk platforming romp. Just good old 3D jump and climb. Ah! Not this again! Thank God. Eventually you tumble into a symbol wheel puzzle that's one of the rare occasions the game actually expects you to crack open the guidebook, so dust off your reading glasses. Once you know the code, it's easy. No Java, no C++ or anything like that. Later you pop back after the Hall of Seasons for what feels like a guest appearance, literally just climbing over a fence. Except for that brief little nothing of a gameplay moment, the whole dig has this mellow excavation retreat vibe that's oddly soothing. Beneath the Louvre's fancy halls, this feels like a mini vacation between museums and death traps. Bouchard's nightclub gives you a rare choice of entry depending on whether you sweet-talk the janitor or the barman. It's a neat touch even if the divergence lasts for all of 5 minutes. After that, you'll spend most of your time digging around the lightning rig like a very determined stagehand. It's a vertical level, so you better enjoy slow-paced climbing, or at least learn to tolerate it. What really gives the Serpent Rouge its pulse is the electronic soundtrack and the seizure-inducing disco lights. As a kid, I thought this was straight up fire, and honestly, it still kinda slaps. Sure, the track loops like ad nauseum, but it injects some much needed energy into an otherwise mundane climbing adventure. So we've got a bop to the top. How did a High School Musical quote land in my script? But why, oh why didn't they fix the glitches where the enemies just fly into the air after getting shot? It's completely ridiculous and pulls me out of my element. Thank you. So yeah, nothing special in the gameplay department, but great music. It took some time, but we're in good territory now. There's still some flaws with these stages, but the positive definitely outweighs the negative. In Deep Sea Dive, Lara gets decked out in the extreme depth suit and spends the whole level diving through the abyss. It's surprisingly relaxing until the submarines show up trying to ruin your vacation with some pesky torpedoes. You can use chaff flares to distract them, but honestly, if you're even mildly awake, they're easy enough to dodge without so much as a glancing wound. Midway through, Lara grabs the Spear of Destiny, but naturally, things immediately go sideways. The suit gets damaged, the aqualung craps out, and suddenly it's a race back to the submarine. Well, more of a gentle paddle, because again, it's not that stressful. Even though it's basically over before you blink, its atmosphere sticks with you. They definitely could have fleshed it out more, and don't hold your breath for anything epic, but hey, sometimes a bite-sized adventure hits the spot. Time to whip out the super grenades, because Mancora's pyramid doesn't mess around. Giant poisonous red scorpions are on the menu today, and blasting them into oblivion is honestly one of the most satisfying things you'll do all game. Cook 'em up, kids! Ah, summer barbecues and the smell of bug meat on the grill. It's just plain wholesome. These scorpions might just be my favorite enemies across the entire trilogy. Now, what's not so great is the weird hidden requirement to save a soldier from one of those nasty arachnids if you want a secret much later. The game sure doesn't hint at it. Protecting NPCs? That's a brand new trick in Lara's handbook. Climbing an actual pyramid is a huge highlight and definitely feels like a payoff after all the temple crawling. The only real buzzkill are the inevitable beetles. But they're a minor nuisance in an otherwise excellent level packed with explosive fun, cool enemies, and satisfying pyramid scaling. Sacred Lake is one of those rare visit twice locations that doesn't elicit a sigh. Unlike the drudgery that was the Great Hypostyle Hall, this place is sweet. No assassins leaping at your throat for once. Just good old-fashioned bats, scorpions, and crocodiles. The animal baddies come as a relief after all the bland people you fight in these games. First time around, you're swimming through ruins until you spot a hidden ceiling opening via a magic mirror. When you return, it's time to slot the sun talisman between 2 obelisks and trigger even more ancient wizardry. It's low-key freaky, but in a fun way. The giant statues near the end look astounding. There's not a ton going on here, but that's kind of the charm. It finds a sweet spot between exploration and chill, without the usual where do I go now headache TLR loves to throw at you. A simple but satisfying wrap-up to the Karnak trilogy. Temple of Poseidon keeps it simple. Find 4 Poseidon statues, stick tridents on them, call it a day. Naturally, that means 4 mini challenges, but none of them are the kind you'll be telling your grandkids about. Not like the scorpion barbecue, that stuff's family legend by now. Anyway, one challenge has you dodging burners on the floor, which sounds spicy but plays more like mild salsa. As you work through it, the big pit in the center slowly fills with water, a nice visual payoff. Skeletons pop up to be a nuisance, but a few explosive arrows or a well-timed headshot if you're feeling sassy handles them quickly. The real mood killers are the air wraiths, especially when they chase you during the slow wall climbs. Honestly, I expected a bit more flash for a temple dedicated to Poseidon, but even so, it's solid enough to leave a positive impression. Just a little shallow. It's no secret that I'm not the president of the Hall of Seasons fan club, but Neptune's Hall is the one exception that actually feels worth my time. You topple a knight into a pit right off the bat, which is always satisfying. Then it's all about gradually raising the water level. Most of the stage has you swimming through spike traps that are surprisingly good at making you pay attention. Yeah, they got me a few times, but I'm willing to admit when I'm the problem. One weird quirk though. The water barely looks like water here, more like Lara's floating in the air. Honestly, it looked cleaner back on PS2. Thank you. Even though it wraps up pretty quickly, this one avoids the cheap, clunky design that drags down the other challenge rooms. It's not exactly a blockbuster moment, but in AOD terms, it's a hallowed Hall of Honor. When it comes to Tomb Raider's endless parade of industrial levels, the base stands out as one of the better stops. The highlight here is the storage room, where a mechanical claw stalks you like the world's angriest vending machine. There's no teddy bear at the bottom of this sorry place. I've personally never been caught by it, I think, but is it not terrifying?
Farewell, my friends. I go on to a better place.
Later, Lara gets her revenge by using the claw to tear a hole in the wall because subtlety is for weenies. Out at the snowy submarine docks, a couple of snipers are no match for a Desert Eagle with a laser sight. I've gotta say, I'm a fan of this whole industrial spy movie vibe. It's the kind of environment that can usually go either way in Tomb Raider, but this one stays on the good side of the Fear Factory. I'm honestly surprised it ranked this high, but that just shows how much it has grown on me over time. The skies are angry over Giza, and fittingly, your first challenge is one of aggravation. A bunch of assassins lurking around and giant death holes. But once you survive that nonsense, you're in for a real treat. The Great Pyramid, not to be confused with The Great Pyramid, is exactly what it promises. Great. And the cherry on top? You actually get to climb the thing. This is basically one huge, glorious platforming tour de force, where only the flat ledges are safe havens. Most of the time, the path forward is pretty clear, but one misstep and you're either getting intimate with the desert floor or backtracking. Oh, and sometimes rocks rain down on your head just for fun, because why not throw in a few concussions too? The only thing I still can't stand are those buzzing beetles. Just go away. Out of all the pyramid climbs this game forces onto you, this one easily wears the crown. It's the biggest, boldest set piece in the whole lineup. The opening to Pharaoh's Temple of Isis is downright mesmerizing. That underwater temple reveal? Chef's kiss. The remastered visuals really kick in here and give the whole place a dreamlike quality. Assuming your dreams include murky, briny depths and hammerhead sharks with a taste for British archaeologists. It's got some Sanctuary of the Scion vibes. Once inside, you kill a golden Reyes? Whatever, like it's no big deal, and then it's off to the challenge rooms. These are mostly variations on the same theme. Welcome to the oil pool, now get out before you become Flambe Lara. And just when you think you're safe, it's Beetle Bobble. Some you can collect, others are broken and come with live beetles instead. Guess which ones I always find first. Sure, a little more gameplay variety wouldn't have hurt, but the atmosphere and pacing carry it home. Definitely a standout in the Alexandria lineup. I didn't expect this, but the Master Boss just gets better with every playthrough. Normally, I'm not exactly a sucker for levels that feel like a maze designed by someone who doesn't believe in maps, but here, it kinda works. There's a gloomy, desolate vibe to the place that fits the Giza stretch perfectly, like the menacing tone, spooky corridors, and the occasional surprised dog lunging at your face. It's a bit too long, granted, the final third could have used a haircut, but scattered throughout are moments that totally justify the runtime. There's a delightful scale puzzle involving the elements and a monkey puzzle where only one switch doesn't result in simian vengeance. This level also reintroduces mummies that couldn't catch Lara if she stood still for a coffee break. It can be a nightmare if you miss an item, but I didn't, so I'm just going to pretend that's okay. Seeing the 13th floor crack the top 10 honestly shocked me. The VCI headquarter levels are a weird bunch, but this one nails the landing. It looks slick and the spy dynamics really lock into place. I like the branching paths. I could sneak past the sleeping guard, but no, I knocked him out cold because I am apparently irredeemable. I used to fight the armored goon like a meathead, but now, chloroform to the face. That's personal growth. I'm a redefined Lara. But seriously, the only thing I can't stand is that getting all the secrets requires you to kill a harmless worker. It's like the game punishes you for having morals. Her characterization in Chronicles is all over the place. Still, despite the moral dilemmas and odd choices, this is absolutely one of the most memorable and well executed stages in the game. Top tier Chronicles material. Okay, now it's getting better than good. These next stages are truly great and deserve all the praise they get. I can't overstate how elated I am that the Times exclusive made it into this collection. Originally a PC standalone promo level tied to the Times newspaper, it celebrated the 75th anniversary of discovering Tutankhamun's tomb. Chief editor Peter Stoddard sends Lara in to do some light grave robbing. Visually, this one shares a lot with a couple of levels still to come, which is a pretty strong hint at how highly I regard it. Sandy corridors, ancient traps, mysterious chambers, everything here feels just right. There's even the iconic treasure room from the original game's loading screen. We can go there? Sick! And the best part? Back in the day, you didn't even need a full game to play it. As a standalone experience, it's compact, it's confident, and honestly, a perfect bite-sized chunk of what makes Tomb Raider classic. Here's a level I teased earlier, and if we're talking about feel, it might just take the gold. Burial Chambers is Tomb Raider doing what it does best. A few small things bug me, like the mummies you can't kill yet. They're not exactly threatening, but their relentless groaning makes me want to mute the TV. Sometimes I just join the mummies and groan along with them. If you can't beat them, join them. Then there's the rotating blade trap that feels designed specifically to punish anyone still using tank controls. Swap to modern movement and it's smooth sailing. The real star of the show is the room with Set's sarcophagus. It looks impressive in the original, but in the remaster? Hot damn! Add in the brilliant rotating room puzzle and you've got one of the game's standout levels. When I think of iconic Egypt stages in Tomb Raider, it's one other we haven't hit yet, and naturally the TR1 classics. This one belongs in that conversation too. Ah yes, the second part of Lara's unexpected career as a Jeep stunt driver is short, but oh so satisfying. You're still chasing the guide, but this time there's the added joy of smashing through support beams like you're mad at the concept of architecture. I know it's popular to be mad at everything nowadays, so I get it. Spike ball traps drop from above just to keep you on your toes, or wheels, and the whole thing feels a little more refined than its predecessor. The open canyon section adds a pinch of new flavor, and with that thumping music playing, it goes harder than you'd expect. Watch out for the pits though, they're deep and not good for your vehicle or your health. In a game full of puzzles that want to break your spirit, KV5 just lets you vibe. Pure unfiltered enjoyment where you can run over assassins without an ounce of regret. This game needed more of this. The Lost Library, aka Lost in the Library as I affectionately call it, may be a strong contender for the most complicated standalone level in the entire package. With so many doors, paths, floors, and puzzles stacked on top of each other, it's easy to lose track of where you've been and where you're supposed to go next. It used to give me a headache. No such pain this time. The only part I still don't care for is the planetarium. Aligning the planets according to ancient astronomy is a brilliant concept, but the execution is pure pushing mania and it drags. Thankfully, the rest of the level practically bursts with standout moments. You get to battle mechanical men, climb into the mouth of a giant lion statue, and you see Lara's first step as a professional harpist. It's overwhelming, sure, but also one of Last Revelation's sweetest rewards. After 2 tedious outings as Curtis, climbing back into Lara's flippers in Aquatic Research Area feels like a relief. This undersea lab is the one corner of Angel of Darkness that actually looks and feels alive. The designers clearly put some thought into the layout and I genuinely want to explore rather than grit my teeth throughout. I've even come to appreciate the mutant fish puzzle. Instead of turning Lara into sashimi, you improvise a chum bucket, dumping all that gross stuff into the tank until the beast goes into a feeding frenzy. nicely. With the monster distracted, Lara gets to swim around peacefully and even scores a sleek wetsuit. The rest is lovely, with no sign of spike traps or scripted scares. I can't think of another instance where AOD nailed atmosphere, design, and genuine fun in one splash, but this stage gets everything right. Temple of Karnak kicks off the Karnak trilogy and somehow pulls off the first chain of interconnected levels in the series. Instead of emerging into eternal doom, you're greeted by sunlight and soaring columns. I like moody stages too, but sometimes it's nice to just exist without fearing the world is about to end. Sure, she almost broke her neck in the beginning with her reckless driving, classic Leadfoot Lara, but once she's up there, the architecture dazzles. Then there's the bit where we discover that Lara seems to be the long-lost cousin of Jesus Christ because she can walk on freaking water. Imagine a parallel universe where Lara Christ and Jesus Croft turn water into oil. Now that's a crossover episode I'd watch. It's tongue-in-cheek because of her water walk, but that's her love language and I can't resist. After my most despised stage comes one I absolutely worship. Young Lara goes full Usain Bolt through Anchor, hotly pursued by her ex-mentor turned rival Werner von Croy. Nab every golden skull in the tutorial and you unlock Extreme Werner mode and a longer challenge. Von Croy's a harbinger of spite, slamming gates and generally acting like he's rewriting the rules as he goes. Cheating prick. So you've got every incentive to stay 2 steps ahead. The real thrill? Racing the clock, squeezing every sprint jump to shave off precious seconds. Finish second and there's no penalty. Just the eternal nightmare of Werner teabagging you in your sleep.
Reload and win this time, yeah?
It stands out for all the right reasons. Race for the Iris is pure adrenaline and the most replayable rush this trilogy delivers.
There are only 2 levels left. The only 2 levels I consider superb and are among the best Tomb Raider has to offer.
If you saw my Chronicles review, you won't be surprised this nearly topped my list. It's like Titanic, but with more live wires and fewer romance options. Sinking submarine turns claustrophobia into a playground. Corridors flood inch by inch, forcing Lara to channel her inner circus performer as she hops across dining tables. Sorry mom, I know you said no gymnastics on the furniture. Live wires dangle like electrified spaghetti, so beware. Beware the thunderous pasta of doom. I was certain that this would take the #1 spot. I decided against it because of how tedious the backtracking can be. That doesn't take away from the fact that this is the only part of the game that I consider to be phenomenal. Chronicles is mostly mediocre, sometimes even a little bad, but this level shows that there was still some life left in the franchise, even if it was gasping for air. If you've been paying attention, you saw this coming. The Tomb of Set is my undisputed favorite in The Last Revelation and the 4-5-6 remasters. Alongside Burial Chambers and the Times exclusive, it delivers peak Egyptian atmosphere, creepy and mysterious. A fantastic return to one of the most iconic TR settings. I actually dig the strange dynamic with the guide tagging along. 1 minute he's leading the way and disarming traps like a pro, the next he's sprinting away in abject terror. Of course you climb atop a massive sphinx, while red-eyed dogs set the stage for a perfectly unsettling adventure. This level captures everything I love about Tomb Raider. A sense of awe, dimly lit chamber scares, and a haunting sound design that blends together into my favorite ride throughout remastered TR4 Egypt.
What a marathon that was. Congratulations, you made it through this list without needing therapy. Before you smash that like button, subscribe and leave your hot takes below, let's have a little fun with math. Let's quickly rank the settings by their average ranking. I counted a total of 14 settings.
At dead last, we've got Parisian Ghetto limping in with an average ranking of 62.4. Just above it is Cairo with 61. Then comes Ireland with 57.7 and Louvre with 47.3. Cambodia follows with 41.5 and then we have Prague with 40.7 and Giza with 35.4. Tied are Karnak and the lone Eastern Desert stage with an average score of 33. VCI headquarters take number 5 with a score of 30 and Rome clocks in at 29.3. Alexandria lands 3rd with 28.8, Russia/Submarine slides into 2nd with 15.8 and the crown jewel Valley of the Kings claims 1st place with a mighty average ranking of 12.8. This feels about right.
Before we wrap things up, let's rank the games themselves.
No surprise, at the bottom lurks The Angel of Darkness with an average score of 50.5. The Last Revelation follows with a score of 35, and the winner Chronicles takes top honors with an average score of 31.8. That lines up exactly with my gut feeling, so it's nice when math and I are in agreement. It's no secret that this trilogy never stole my heart the way the original classics did. In fact, it's my least favorite Tomb Raider era, without question. Playing through these remasters was sometimes a chore, especially AOD, which should have been polished before release instead of shoehorning the launch into Lara's fictitious birthday. The irony isn't lost on me that the remaster of a game that was panned because it was released unfinished was released unfinished. I would gladly have waited another year if it meant getting a better experience. Sure, patches have patched, but then I ask myself what even the point is of buying and playing these games on launch date. It leaves a bitter taste in my mouth, and apparently I didn't learn my lesson from the previous remasters. The new visuals are marvelous in The Last Revelation and Chronicles. I even enjoyed the former more than on PS1, which I didn't expect. Chronicles felt about the same, but all hope is lost for me when it comes to The Angel of Darkness. I just can't see it as the misunderstood masterpiece many people claim it to be. This is all subjective stuff. If you love it, that's great. I just don't and probably never will. Creating this list was way more difficult than for the original trilogy, and again, it was a ton of work. So please don't take it too seriously and just see it for what it is. The opinion of a dude who grew up with these games. I wish I could have been more positive in this video, but I'd rather be honest than faking enthusiasm.
How about you? Did you enjoy this package more than me? I'd love to see some of your rankings, so head down to the comments and try to rank them yourselves. Thank you so much for watching this long ass video, and I'll see you later. Have a nice day.